Good afternoon, YouTube viewers and subscribers. You know, when I start out like this, I'm usually going to pull something over here that's interesting. To say that I'm excited about today's video and today's engine is an understatement. Now, in the last month and a half, 2 months or so, I've done a lot of twin cylinder engines, and I called engines jewels and crown jewels and that sort of thing. Well, I need to retract one of my statements about a crown jewel of Saito, and that was when I called the FA-80TS or 60T the crown jewel, because although it's a very nice engine and it doesn't look like I'm ever going to get one, I was able to get what I think is the next crown jewel of the Saito twin engine line, and it just so happens to be the very first one. What I've got today is this engine. Now, this is not the first time I've had an FA-80T. I've had one of them before, two 90Ts and then the 100T. But this particular engine came with a box, and not only did it come with a box, it is new in box. Now, I'm going to open this up and explain why this is the new crown jewel to me. One of the reasons is because it's mine. I own this engine. So this is only the second time I've opened this engine. I did get it at lunchtime today, and I opened it real quick and took a quick look at it, drooled all over it, and then I put it back in the box. So here we've got the original instructions. Looks like the complete set, which is very nice. What is this here? It's a supplement, which is in pretty bad shape. The supplement's in pretty bad shape. But here is our engine. Now, let me preface this by saying this is not only an FA-80T, this is a Mark I version. And I'll explain what that means exactly here. But here we've got a 10mm, 12mm open-end wrench. Leads for the glow plugs so you can have a remote glow igniter. The two headers. Now, the interesting thing about these headers is, and I know you probably can't really see that, is that neither one of them has an exhaust nipple on it, because you really don't need that to run this engine. Let's see here, we've got the screwdriver and some of the mounting things. Now, one of the things I didn't realize before was that this particular piece here is actually, and I'm not going to go and open all this stuff up, this particular piece here is actually a glow plug wrench. I did have the tool set before for another one of the engines, either the 80T or the 90T. I think it was the 90T, and I really didn't know what that thing was, and now I know. So let me pull this engine out of here, move the box aside, and we'll start talking more earnestly about this beautiful thing. So as I said, this is a Mark I engine, which means this is a single carb engine. Now, this engine was released to the market, I think, in like 1980, 1981 time frame. The one I had was actually a Mark II. It had a dual carb setup, just like the other two 90Ts I had at one time. They also were dual carb. So this is the first time I've ever had the single carb setup. Now, the thing that's really intriguing about this engine is that not only is it new in box, and it looks to me like it's past the prototype stage, and this is full-on production proudness here, because if you notice this choke valve mechanism that's on here, the slider is embossed with the word Saito, and it's chromed out. So this thing is like the complete Mac Daddy. Now, this engine is of the vintage that it has a two-piece head, very much like this FA-45 engine, which is of the same vintage. But obviously, since this is an 80T, this is the FA-40 cylinders, and it's an AAC engine, which means both of these are the same, which means they do not have a ring. They have a chrome-plated cylinder with just a aluminum piston riding in there. So they're ringless engines. As you can see, the carb is about the same. But So this head actually is three separate pieces.
And if you look here closely, you also see the rocker covers have this flare on them. So these rocker covers won't fit on any other Saito engines.
But if you look here, there's some head screws here, head screw here. So it's like a three-piece section here where this part here and the front of the rockers comes off, and then you've got this other section, and then you've got the head. So this thing is just so sweet, and I can actually tell, I could tell from at lunchtime when I took a look at this. Here's something you don't normally ever see, and this is one way you can tell that you've got a new Saito engine that has never ever even had a prop mounted to it before, because of this. Look at that. Now, if you've ever had a Saito engine and you've ever mounted a prop to it, you know that you'll never pull that thing off by hand again. So this is just yet another way to verify that, yes, this is a true new unboxing. It's never even had a prop mounted to it. So the thing that's nice about this is it's going to give us a chance here to look at the bearing that's in here. And it's a 608Z, and it says Japan on it. So apparently they've got metal shielded bearings on this thing, which is pretty cool. It's interesting to note. Now, the thing is, there's kind of a deal that goes with this. There's a story that goes with this engine. This engine was, I bought it from a fellow on RC Groups, and it was listed back in April. And it was listed at a price that I really wasn't going to be able to touch it at then. I had contacted the fellow, asked him if he had any leeway, if he wanted to trade. No, because he was selling it for a friend who had a deceased modeler, and he was selling this for the proceeds for his wife. So I passed on it and had always really kept thinking about this engine. Well, last Saturday I was thinking about this engine, and it was really strange. Here, let me just show you this real quick.
See, even here
it says FA-80 Saito. So the cylinder's there. Last Saturday I was like, I was wondering, wow, I wonder if that engine ever sold, because I hadn't really seen it in the listings anymore. And funny as that was, the very next evening, Sunday evening, I get a PM message from the owner of this, or the guy that's selling this engine. He said, hey, I've still got this engine. Are you interested? And he offered it to me for, what was it, $7,500 less than he had it listed for. And I said, yes, I'm interested in it. I said, but I'm interested in it at this price, which was yet another $25 less than what he was just offering it to me for, and he took it. So long story short, I got this for a lot less than he originally had it listed for. But that brings another problem into my life, in that I'm not supposed to be buying engines anymore. But I was not going to let this one get away from me this time. Again, FA-80T here. I'm just going to kind of keep holding this so you can look while I babble. So this time I was like, I can't let this go. I've got to buy it. Well, as with my addiction and as things go across my table, when I buy something I'm not supposed to buy, something has to go. So I'm trying to come up with a list of engines now, some 2-strokes and some other things. I sold a 4-stroke already. I'm trying to come up with some engines that I can sell to at least ease my conscience a little bit, so that I don't feel so guilty about buying this. Now, one of the things I want to do is a direct comparison here, and I have to pull out a little bit here so we can see this, is I want to compare this with my Saito FA-100T engine. Now, this is an engine I've had for probably a year. It's really oily because I've got it all lubed up. This is an engine I've had for probably a year or more, slightly more. And as you can see, they're very, very similar. Now, this 100T is also unique in that the later versions, this is an early version 100T, later versions actually had an air diaphragm pump that was attached to one of these cam cases to actually pump out the exhaust gases and keep oil circulating in there. Now, the 80 and 90T engines don't need a pump because they've got a vane type pump here that actually keeps negative pressure or positive pressure in the crankcase, so it keeps oil circulating. This 100T does not. So because of that, it requires, really makes it so that after every flight you really have to oil this thing up really well. And as you can see here, there's just a big screw here. There's no vane pump or anything there. So this is good and bad. It's good that because any parts for these pumps, these vane pumps, are pretty much non-existent anymore. They're really, really, really hard to find. Here you don't have to worry about it. And as you can see here, this is the single carb, this is the dual carb. Now I've run this thing, I've had a lot of ups and downs, you know, with this engine. It's in great shape. It has, I don't have any plugs in it. It has great compression, runs good, but the quandary I've got is, as I was saying, I'm going to be selling some engines here. And I'm actually kind of considering this being one of them. So any of you that are watching this and that live in the continental United States, I'm sorry for you folks overseas, but with shipping costs and stuff like that, this is not going to be offered overseas. I am seriously considering actually parting with this 100T, because in reality I love my 80 and 90Ts much more than I love this. Don't get me wrong, I love this engine. But something's got to give, something's got to go, and I really don't see myself using the 100T anymore, so I'm going to probably be offering it up to a good home to help me not feel so guilty about buying this prized jewel that I will never ever part with. So with that said, and I know this is probably a long video, I hope you all stayed with me for it. This has been a quick look at what I think is my prize jewel, because this one's mine. And of course the big question people are going to ask is, well, are you going to run it? Well, the answer is hell yes, I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it as quickly as I can get that Magnum 160 off my upright, because yes, I'm very excited about this engine. It may be a few weeks, but yes, I am going to run this engine. So with that said, I'll sign off now and say thank you for watching, and thank you for your subscriptions, and any engines that I list for sale to help my conscience are going to go on RC Groups. So there you have it. Thank you.